dietitian Tabitha Hume. Thank you very much, ma'am, for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Dan.
I mean, we are now like leading the Africa in terms of obesity. And how, from a dietitian's perspective, how serious is this condition?
It's extremely serious, and it's growing at a rate that is much worse than what we expected, Dan. I think there are a number of reasons. Number one, we're not moving as much. We're not just talking exercise. We're not actually moving on a daily basis and an hourly basis as much. And number two, we're living in a toxic environment. People are not preparing, and as a result, they're going for takeouts. There's a takeout on every single corner. There's the availability of extremely unhealthy food, and people are growing fast and saying they don't have time to change it.
The amount of food that we eat, does it also count? I mean, I grew up in a household where my mother used to put a big splash of pap on my plate and some gravy and fatty beef or something like that.
Yes.
And she used to say to me, you must finish your food.
Yes. It's a controversial one. In the sort of olden days, which is when I was younger, people used to eat a lot more, but it was a lot more healthy, even though it was perhaps pap and fatty meat, which is not generally recommended for our lifestyle today. People were moving more, people were more active, there was less stress, etc., all those contributing factors. So in essence, our lifestyles today, we sit more, we don't do as much, and so we do need to decrease the amount we are totally eating. However, what's more important is not necessarily the amounts, but what we are putting into our mouths.
So we hear this now and again when we talk about obesity or healthy eating, more veggies, more fruit.
Absolutely. There's a trend going around saying, please don't eat fruit, it's full of sugar. It's not. It's only got a small amount of fructose in it. It really isn't dangerous. It's a very slow release glucose. And as a result of that, we should be pushing fruits hugely. It used to be 5 a day in terms of fruit and vegetables. Now we're looking at 9 a day to prevent lifestyle disorders.
Is it 9 different pieces of fruit per day?
Nine
servings?
You look at 9 servings of fruit and vegetable. So you're looking at perhaps 4 servings of fruit and 5 servings of vegetables. That would be ideal per day. So it's a lot of vegetables. If you think about the average person for lunch, they would have a burger and chips or a spaghetti bolognese. They wouldn't actually have a salad and then a small sandwich afterwards. So
does
getting
stress
it wrong.
contribute to obesity?
Stress contributes hugely. First of all, when we are stressed in the long term, our bodies produce a stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol favors fat storage on the gut area, and that is really an indication of huge lifestyle disorders to come if we've got a slightly bigger or a very big gut. Secondly, we comfort eat. There are very poor stress coping mechanisms in the Western world these days. We don't exercise enough to get rid of stress. We don't really know how to get rid of stress appropriately, and we allow it to build upon us. And when we do that, we eat quick-release carbohydrates with strong flavors, both of which stimulate serotonin, which is the feel-good chemical in the brain, and the dopamine in our brain, which helps us stay motivated and focused for longer. So you can understand how people are beginning to rely on foods because they're not doing the right things to relieve stress.
Yeah. You said we're not moving as we used to. That means we don't walk a lot.
Yes.
Exercise a
Yes.
lot. We spend time, like now I'm sitting here in the studio. When I finish here, I go into my car, then I go somewhere else. We're also spending time moving, but sedentary, so we're not really exercising.
Correct.
I guess exercise, you would say the dietitian also plays a critical part
Absolutely.
in combating obesity.
Hugely, hugely. I would say it's equally 50-50 nutrition and exercise. I would say that very comfortably. It's putting myself out of business somewhat, but exercise is absolutely imperative. And a lot of people say, but I do, an hour's gym every day or 3 times a week, which is excellent. However, it's more looking at the children when we're developing our fat cells as we're growing up as children. Those fat cells are getting bigger and overdeveloped as children because children are not walking to and from school. They're not playing hard during break. They're not able to play and cycle to their friend's house in the afternoon because it's dangerous in Johannesburg. They're kept inside and they've got screens. And as a result of that, children are growing up with higher fat cell proliferation. Apart from that, we've also got a situation whereby it is much more prevalent for children to have junk food and be given junk food by their parents as a treat. And very often it's daily. And I say to people, why the treat? A treat is if you've done well in a test. A treat is if you've done really well with housework or whatever it might be. And we've got this proliferation of treats and a much less a smaller inclination to do any form of just normal active exercise. Like I say, not hockey, not tennis. We're talking about walking around all day and all night.
Thank you very much for that advice. As clinical dietitian Tabitha Hume.